Put some aluminum scrap down and made these 3 bars. What I wanted to find out is if the pouring temperature made any difference. So I melted enough to make 3 bars worth in the crucible, turned the furnace off, and then poured this one out. And as you can see, the top here is kind of bumpy from probably shrinkage is a big part of it. What I did, the technique I used when I poured it in, and then I hit the crucible or the mold with the spoon, and to cause the surface to flatten out, and so that you would get a more flatter surface here. But there's definitely a dip in the middle as it shrunk and cooled. So that was the hottest temperature. Waited for that to cool enough to get it out of the mold, and then I poured the next one. And the bottom, there's a little bit of a, I don't know what you'd call that, but some air bubbles and things there on that one. You really can't see that much difference. It's maybe a little smoother texture. But what's interesting is that the top is significantly less bumpy, so let's pull up next to each other so you can see, than the one that was at its hottest. Again, of course, there's a dip in the middle, as it cools and kind of shrinks. Turned out pretty decent. And then this one is the one that went coolest, and I was getting ready to do a 4th bar, but the aluminum in the crucible, what was left, went solid at that point. So it was between when I poured this and when I was ready to pull it out of the mold, it hardened up so that it wouldn't pour. So this is definitely a lower temperature pour. And I did the same technique of hitting the side there. Can't really see that much difference between, maybe there's a little bit more where it squared up exactly against the edge, but that could have been just the vigor at which I whacked the side of it. But we compare the top here, and so let's do all 3. This hottest one's kind of bumpy, this is less bumpy, still bumpy. This one is remarkably smooth, not nearly as bumpy, and there is still a dip in the middle from shrinkage, but not as much as this one, and certainly not as much as this one. So it appears that if you pour at closer to the melt temperature, then you have less shrinkage, and it's going to create a smoother surface if it's exposed to the air, and then create less of a dip in whatever you're casting. So that's kind of interesting and might be useful information in the future for various casting. If I'm casting larger objects, to go ahead and let the aluminum cool to a temperature near the melt point before I pour.